All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, I am so excited for another Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan today because of my beautiful and awesome and talented and brilliant genius guest today, Phyl Macomber. How you doing today, ma'am? God bless you.
I'm very excited for our conversation today.
Hey, man. Thank you so much. Well, Phil, one thing I always love to do first is have our guests say a few words. There's so much going on in the planet, but anything you like to say before we get started? I'm gonna read your bio in a minute, but anything you like to say?
I think what I'd like to say is at the state of where we're at in the world today,
Yeah.
never give up hope.
There you go, Phil. Guess right. Don't give up, folks.
Yeah.
Don't be sad. Don't be, I know there's times to be sad and grieving and all that stuff, but don't stay there. Bill, that's the key. We can't stay there. Thank you so much for that powerful, powerful opening. And as you know, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to pay attention today because we're going to be talking about a powerful topic today. But let me get right to it. Hey, guys, Power Connections is where we bring in powerful people like Mrs. Phyl Macomber, ladies and gentlemen, to bring her in to talk about this wonderful topic today. We're going to be talking about her area of focus in on. We're going to focus in on every child can learn. We're going to be talking about education, the educational system a little bit today. And I'm really concerned, Phil, about what's happening in our nation and around the world as well. I'm really concerned about what's not happening, I should say, in our educational system today. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But guys, let me get started here because we got Phil today on the network, but we don't want to keep her too long today. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Phyl Macomber. She is an international educational specialist. Ladies and gentlemen, I love that. Recipient. This is how I met her and her husband, guys, in Atlanta. They were in Atlanta to get another award there, but she's also a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. So congratulations again on that, Phil. We're so proud of you guys for that. But I had the pleasure of meeting her and her husband at the in Atlanta, guys. It was powerful. And I thank God for that time that we met. Thank you so much, Phil. And please give love to your husband again later on. Amen.
I will.
Amen. Hey, guys, she's also a great author, Amazon #1 bestseller, Every Child Can Learn. On Amazon, check her out, guys. Every Child Can Learn, your roadmap to inclusion and education. She's also the recipient, guys, of I Am Woman Inspiration Different Maker Award. Wow, I love it. Thank you so much for that. Also, the host of the podcast, Every Child Can Learn. We're going to hear more about that later on, Phil, how people can get in touch with you, also follow you on your podcast. And if you're looking for guests to be on your show, to how to be a part of that as well. So thank you so much for offering that as well. And ladies and gentlemen, chosen by the RiseHer Network as one of the top 100 women to know in 2023 and beyond, I believe, as well. Thank you so much. She's also the CEO and president of Make a Difference, Inc., ladies and gentlemen, and Practical Assistive Technology Solutions, Inc. I love this quote that she loves here. Every child should have a true sense of belonging in their classroom, family, and community. To be valued, amen, and to add value. That is a real meaning of inclusion. I just hope I don't tear up today a little bit, Phil, because this is very serious area for our young people, and they have to have this attention that you already are fired up about, and also on a mission about, if you will, as well. So, guys, we're going to talk to Phil about. So, I got some questions that she approved here that we're going to talk about. But Phil, one thing I want to hear from you today is, first of all, your interest. How did you get started in this area, if you don't mind, of education?
Well, Kevin, I think that our story always starts from childhood because it's a part of who you are.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I've had a blessed life. I was adopted when I was 7 weeks old
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
from St. Joseph's Orphanage in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And that's originally where I'm from, although I reside in New England now.
Right.
And, I grew up with such an abundance of love and
Yeah.
also just such a true sense of belonging in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
always felt a true sense of being a part of
Yes.
not just my own nuclear family, which
Right.
was mom, my dad, and eventually my sister, who's younger than me,
Mm-hmm.
but also, like when you grow up in an Italian family, your
Yeah.
grandparents raise you, your aunts and uncles, your
Yeah.
cousins are like siblings to you. And it didn't take me very long, Kevin, to realize not every kid was as lucky as me.
Right. Yeah.
And that sense of belonging, it shouldn't surprise you, is really the core of what
Yes.
I do in my
Yes.
life's work. Because as you quoted from me,
Yes.
I truly believe that every child should have a sense of belonging in their school, their community, their
Yes.
neighborhood, their
Yes.
family.
Yes.
And, as it relates to our topic today of education, I do believe that children are valued in the educational
Mm-hmm.
system, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not always tapped into the sense of belonging to add value, to feel a sense of worth, to feel like their voice matters, to truly engage them and have them reach their potential.
Yes.
And that's at the core of who Phyl is. That's my
Yeah.
philosophy, so to speak.
That's foundation there, Phil. That's the foundation. You just laid it out. We have to have a foundation, and you have a wonderful foundation. A lot of us out there have a wonderful foundation in this area as well, guys. So, wow, thank you so much. Hey, guys, if you're just joining us here on Power Connections, here, my wonderful guest today is Phyl Macomber. Ladies and gentlemen, she's our power player for this month. I'm so excited about. We're just going through some questions with her today as it relates to education and also her vision, her purpose, and her plan for this area as well. Wow, I love it. I love it, Phil. Love this area. Wow, incredible. Phil, one thing I was thinking about too is that, as you kind of alluded to, is that not everybody is afforded that time from their family, if you will,
True.
uh, to give that foundation. So we've got to talk about a little bit how we can achieve that today with those people. We're talking about parents who are listening right now. How can they achieve that level, if you will, or some type of balance so they can make sure their children are getting the love, the foundation, and also the education? Any thoughts about what we need to do to fix this area a little bit?
I don't think it's all that hard, Kevin, to be real honest with you.
Yeah.
I think we need to move in education from parents being visitors in a school
Yeah.
to being a part of the school.
Ah.
That's that sense of belonging. Belonging applies to families as well. So many times you will see parents, they show up for the parent conferences, but
Right.
who runs them? The teachers are in charge,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And we need to view as educators,
Mm-hmm.
whether we're classroom teachers or special educators or the one-on-one support paraprofessionals that do such hard work with some of the most difficult students that we need to tap into to make them
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
And, we need to say that parents are experts and they need to feel that value of
Right.
being experts,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So again, it's that sense of belonging and it all relates to communication,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Phil, my observation in the cities I've lived in with the family and so forth is the fact that you have to build relationships. And
They
that's
take
what you're talking. It takes time. That's the key right there, Phil. It takes time to build genuine interest, if you will, genuine trust. That's probably the biggest one.
Yep.
And as you know, as parents, our children are grown now, but growing up, we were working. We had to work. We had to do all kind of different things. We just couldn't show up at the school or show up at a meeting and be involved, on a positive level. So you're talking about something that has to be somehow managed, if you will, in order to be effective in the system, if you will, today overall. So that's powerful. So I think the foundation is laid. You mentioned that it's not hard, but we just have to make decisions, right, to engage.
Exactly. You
Wow.
know, my dad always used to say, your decisions define you, honey.
Yeah.
They
Right.
really do. They speak
Right.
to your character, to your
Yeah.
integrity,
Yeah.
and they're really your moral compass in life, right?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And, you know, going back to the that sense of belonging and the importance of relationships,
Hmm.
I always teach teachers connection before content. You
Yeah.
have to have a connection with your
Yeah.
students.
Right.
And, you know, going back to all the life lessons, you know, my parents were two of the greatest teachers in my life, truly.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we were, both my sister and I, by the way, I picked my sister out of St. Joseph's Orphanage and she was adopted as well, my sister
Yeah.
Rosie. But, you know, Rosie and I were the first generation to go to college in my Italian family.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always say that my dad, he didn't carry a briefcase to work. He carried a lunch pail, and he was the wisest man that I
Yeah.
knew because he was so practical and
Right.
taught true life lessons. And
Yes.
that's what's missing in education today
Right.
are those life lessons. And, you know,
Mhm.
Kevin, you talked about the importance of empowering families and partnering with families. There is a big difference
Mhm.
between family involvement and family engagement. You know,
Yeah.
family involvement is showing up,
Right.
being invited in, like that you need an invitation. You know, family engagement is you could be a part of a classroom lesson. You could help vote
Right.
on things
Right.
that are important in your child's education in a school building. You could be on committees partnering with teachers and
Yeah.
have a regular presence in your child's school if that's what you desire. Now, some families, as we know, may not have the latitude in their schedules to do that.
Right.
Um, but it's a mindset,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, this is Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan, my special guest there, Phyl Macomber. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about every child can learn. This is one of her focus areas. Every child can learn, ladies and gentlemen. She is an international educational specialist, and I'm excited for her being with us today. You know, Phil, I wanted to ask you about your assessment or just your overview of what's happening, not just the United States, but globally as well, where you live as well. What's going on with the educational system? And what I'm concerned about is that people are coming out of school and not understanding stuff and reading, can't read at certain levels, and just the things they're supposed to be taught are not being taught. What can you tell us a little bit about what's happening out there in our system?
The number one problem in education is that it's become very complicated and we need to simplify.
Yeah,
And oftentimes I think in my, I'm going to say my travels, so to
yeah,
speak, that I truly see that education lacks common sense. And I stand for common sense. That's what I stand for.
yeah.
If it makes sense to teachers, it's
Hmm.
going to make sense to kids and families.
Right.
If something is so illogical that teachers can't wrap their head around it, how are they going to engage their students for the relevance of something, for the clarity of something? So that complicated system needs to be simplified, and we need to add common sense. In fact, some people have called me the director of common sense, and I
Yeah.
humbly accept the title.
Yes, yes, I love it. What a great title there. I love it. You know, Phil, one of the areas, as you know, is the board of directors or board of education, however, different, I guess, different titles, but somehow we have to make sure that as parents that we're engaged at that level.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm not sure how the Parent Teachers Association works with with the educational system to make sure these areas that you're so passionate about gets done. So I don't think anybody's talking about, the foundation of just keeping it simple, getting back to the real basics. It's just unacceptable when you hear a graduate from the 12th grade not be able to read at a certain level. That just don't make any sense to me. That's not very beneficial to the individual, obviously, right, or to the family. So I think you're spot on, but it's going to take a lot of engagement, and a lot of sacrifice for parents that we're going to have to get involved a little bit more for our young people, which is our next generation. Wow, incredible. I love it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Phyl Macomber. Ladies and gentlemen, she is, for those who don't know, she's an international educational specialist. We're talking about the state of education today and what we can do to improve it. We want to hear from one of the experts in this area, Phyl, we've been talking about this area. She's also, guys, she's also a bestseller for the book, Every Child Can Learn, Your Roadmap to Inclusion and Education, guys. That's a bestseller. You can check her out on Amazon, and we're going to talk some more about how to get in touch with her here in the future. Phyl, let's talk about some of the top, I think we caught a little bit about that, but some of the top areas that we can improve for us. And I know we have a lot of parents out there right now. So can you give us a little tips on what we can do no matter what part of the world we're in, but what can we do as parents to make an impact so we can make some changes that you recommend for our system?
So one of the things that I think we need to recognize are what I call power-packed words in education right now. Let's use one of them, at least as it relates to my work that I support wholeheartedly, regardless of postal code. It could be in South Africa. It could be on the West Coast of the United States. It could be in my home area here in New England, in the state of Vermont, for example. And that word is inclusion. Inclusion has taken on many different meanings over the past years. Let's talk about it as it relates to what you mentioned, Kevin, learning, because you had said so many graduates still have so many struggles in so many different academic areas. And inclusion, many teachers will think, is placing a child in a regular education classroom who might be struggling or receiving special ed services. But that doesn't make them a part of the lesson, right? Being in the room doesn't mean you're a part of the class. Right? And you see families struggle with this a lot. They know that their child has different learning styles or different learning abilities. And they want to know how their child's learning needs are going to be met. And a tip that I have is for people to have the bigger conversation of, and I truly believe this, Kevin, that education has it reversed on what we should be doing. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So many times we say, and we'll relate it to inclusion, how do we meaningfully include this child with dyslexia, this child with a learning disability, a reading disability, like you had said, or who struggles with writing, or who may have autism or Down syndrome? How do we meaningfully include them in the regular ed classroom and teach them along with the other kids? And I look at it and say, you've got it all backwards. The proven strategies that we know work with this special ed population should be used with all the kids. I mean, Kevin, I have trained thousands of educators on how to meaningfully reach kids of varying abilities, like I just mentioned. And do you know what those classroom teachers came back and said to me?
What's that, Phyl?
They've said, Phyl, the strategies that you are teaching us here, they're working really well with our kids in special ed, but they're working with all the kids in the classroom. And I smile and I say, that's because all education is special. The proven strategies we use in special education are sound, bite-sized chunk, simplified, straightforward, common sense strategies that are challenging for all kids of all abilities, of gifted and talented, below grade level, at grade level. We need to stop saying, how are we going to fit these special ed kids in the gen ed classroom? We need to say, how do we better teach the gen ed kids to be as successful as the kids in special ed can be?
Exactly. Wow, that's brilliant.
Does that make
Brilliant.
sense?
Yes, it does, Phil. It's brilliant. You said earlier, you started off with make it simple. Keep it simple as possible and make it the real thing. That's powerful. It makes a lot of sense because you're building the blocks. You're building the blocks of learning, if you will. I've read that somewhere. You're building
Yes.
the blocks of learning. And that is brilliant. So that means we got to get this word out a little bit more, don't we, about what you just said.
Absolutely.
Everybody listening, I want you guys to share this out to all your teachers, to all the parents that are out there. You need to share this within your family, within your colleagues, within your business circles as well. It's amazing. I love it. You know, Phil, as you was talking, I was writing some notes here about how what we need to do. We just want to talk a little bit about three areas, if you don't mind, because we have to have a certain amount of attitude. We have to have a great attitude in this area,
Mhm.
and we got to have a great motivation and we got to have a great mindset. Let's start off with attitudes. What's your thoughts about I'll use me as a parent, I have responsibilities to have a good attitude and to be able to work in this area for my child or for somebody else's child for that matter. But how important is attitude in this area that we're talking about?
It is critical to
Yeah,
have what is referred to in education as a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset.
gotcha.
And so many people will always look at what the problem is and
Mm-hmm.
spend so much time talking about the problems.
Right. Yeah.
Like Kevin, when I was a kid growing up, my mom and dad said to both me and my sister, you
Mm-hmm.
can come to mommy and daddy with any problem, but we're only going to talk about that problem for 5 to 10 minutes. The remainder of the time, we're going to focus on solutions because that's how
Oh,
you're going to grow up to be a strong woman.
yeah.
Right. And that attitude of,
Yeah.
okay, you have to identify the problem, but you don't need
Right.
to admire the problem.
Right.
Admiring the problem doesn't move to solutions.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
And, so attitude is also really tied to belief systems, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, powerful. I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about education here. Really, I am really concerned, and so is Phil, about the state of education on a global scale, ladies and gentlemen, let alone the United States. But we're talking about anywhere because every child, every person should be learning the basics, right? Reading, writing, and arithmetic minimum, and beyond, of course, as well. So, Phil, we talk about motivation a little bit. I've got to be motivated. We got so many distractions today, Phil, within the family specifically. How can moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, aunties and uncles, nieces and nephews that are older, how can they motivate themselves and also the people they're trying to help in education as well? What's the key to motivation today?
I think a big key to motivation, and I'm going to come back to that word belonging,
Yeah.
is engagement leads to enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you cannot engage with a student, if a
Right.
principal can't engage with their teachers,
Yeah.
if a superintendent can't engage with their principals,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if a teacher can't engage with the families that they serve for the
Yeah.
children in their classroom,
Yeah.
and you're not going to get that motivation. You're not going to get that sense of belonging. And
Yeah.
it also ties, in my opinion, to relevance.
Yeah.
Kids are not little robots that they are going to see the teacher in the front of the room and they're
Yeah.
going to sit there with their hands crossed, right?
Right.
With their notebooks or their Chromebooks out, regardless of how techie you're going to get or not
Yeah.
techie, and fall in line. That's not education. Education is building thought leaders in
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
And if you don't teach them the why of the what they're learning,
Oh,
that's
that's
magic, right? It's like
yeah.
the what plus the how equals the why. You're going to get kids excited about learning because,
Yeah.
The joy of learning comes from the joy of teaching. And I'll tell you, Kevin, I think that the biggest pandemic that we're facing as it relates to education is
Yeah.
burnout.
Yeah.
Burnout
Right.
is key. Teachers are burnt out. They are
Absolutely.
underappreciated,
Yes.
undervalued.
Yes. They're
And
not being heard, Phil, as you know. They're not
yeah,
even, I don't think well, some of them may be doing it, but I'll just say most of them are not even engaging the educator in the process anymore.
right,
So,
right.
and they're the experts, and they're the ones that love what they do. They love teaching and learning. And I tell you, when we grew up, Phil, it was totally different. It's totally different.
Yeah.
We respected our teachers, we had engagement between mom and dad with the school. Today it's just totally almost like an adversary type of a relationship now, it seems, in some
Mhm.
cases, not all cases, ladies and gentlemen. So it's so important that we get involved in this area, guys. We've got to have the motivation for our young people. And Phil, you hit a key area, the why. I love the answer. Why are we doing this? We're
Right,
doing this for the future of your children.
right. But
They
also,
have, yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Phil.
like, let's use a specific example.
Yeah,
Let's relate it to social studies.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was literally modeling a lesson just last week in a social studies class.
Yeah.
It was a 5-6 class, grades
Okay,
5-6.
gotcha.
And this year, in the month of December, is the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. That's just an example. That was
Mhm.
the content.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's the what of the
okay,
kids
yeah,
studying.
yes,
Now, this is an important time in the history of America, right? And so the kids are like, oh, okay, I get it. People
yeah,
dressed up, they threw tea overboard. But what's the why behind it,
yeah. Exactly. Why did
right?
all? Yeah,
They're saying not just, not fair. And what
right,
does that mean? That's a protest. Now let's compare it to something maybe you saw on television,
right.
a protest. What are appropriate ways to protest?
Yeah,
Right? And so now you're building the relevance in. How can you write a letter of concern? How can
mhm,
you? Let's do something even in your school. Say you
right.
want to change something in your school. How would you approach your principal about that? Right?
Mhm,
This
yes,
is relevance, and you're tying it back to, wow, I get it. I see why this was an important part of history, because it's teaching us to
yeah.
stick up for ourselves, to stand up for ourselves.
Right, right. I love it, Phil. That's brilliant. That's having a voice. But see, they're using the what we call I call it critical thinking, if you will.
Yes,
From
me too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
basically, as thinking. Basically, it is. I don't care if it's critical or not. It's just thinking something through in order for a solution. So that's brilliant, Phil. I love it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, you're on Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan and my wonderful guest today, brilliant guest today, Phyl Macomber. Ladies and gentlemen, she is an international educational specialist. I just love what she does and so excited about this area because without education, Phil, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I'm a big advocate of education for no matter what age you are, really.
Yeah.
We want to make sure you're always learning. Bill, we want to do a commercial break because I'm sure there's some people out there that say, hey, I want to get in touch with her and learn a little bit more about what she does, what's available. She sounds like she's a consultant, and yes, she probably could consult you as well. But Phil, how can folks get in touch with you via social media or however you want to share with us today? Let's do a little commercial break for you. How can folks get in touch with you?
You can email me at Phyl, Phyl, at aboutthepact.com. That's about, ABOUT, the THE, pact, PACT.com. Phyl at aboutthepact.com. You can also go to my website, aboutthepact.com. And then I'm on pretty standard social media on Twitter, which my handle is All About the Pact, which is the teaching simplified framework that I've authored, which is
Yeah,
a basis for Every Child Can Learn.
yeah.
And on Facebook under Phyl Macomber, and also the Every Child Can Learn page as
Yeah.
well, and then Instagram and LinkedIn.
I love it. Thank you so much, Phil. Hey, guys, if you want to get in touch with her through me, let's say, hey, Kev, send me Phil's information. I'll be glad to do that as well, guys. If you want that information as well, for those who are listening live and listening later on the network, just say, hey, send me Phil's information. Highly recommend you get in touch with her on an appointment basis, guys. You all set up an appointment, okay? Because she's pretty busy, right? We want you to do that as well. As we continue, Phil, in this area, how today mindset is so important. Oh man, don't get me started on that one. But can you talk a little bit about mindset, mainly for the parents today? What mindset should we have towards every child can learn?
I think believing in your children, it
Yeah,
all comes down to belief,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
they are a safe place for their
Mm-hmm.
kids to talk to them
Mm-hmm.
about anything, especially anything that happens in school, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so a mindset of I can and focusing on strengths
Yeah.
versus challenges. And I know that so many parents that I support, because I also support parents who homeschool their children as well.
Right. Yeah.
And we are having an increasing number of parents homeschooling their children.
Yes, we are. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And doing such wonderful hard work with their kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
applause for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
but focusing really on solution oriented and building up self-confidence and
Mhm.
self-esteem. Because
Mhm.
as long as you believe in yourself and know that with every challenge that comes along, you're about to learn something, right?
Right.
That
Right.
without failure, you're not going to grow.
Right.
So I have taught parents and educators to do this, but the parents really have loved bringing this into their households of, before saying goodnight to your kids, regardless of their age,
Yeah.
is to go through what I call the 3-3 exercise.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's, what are the 3 things that you feel you did really well today?
Mm.
And what are the 3 things you're going to work on to do better tomorrow?
Oh,
Because
that's
that's a mindset of growth.
yeah. Yes.
Kevin, quite candidly, I do this every single day.
I'm with
And I consider myself a lifelong learner. I learn from so many children and educators and families that I support
yeah.
that
So exciting, isn't it, Phil? So exciting.
learning is just such a gift in
Yeah,
life.
it is.
And that's a great gift you can give to your child.
Amen. Phil, I was just thinking here, your brain wants you to fill it up.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, your brain, your wonderful brain, your mind, and all that stuff wants you to fill it up with good stuff, learning, that is. We're talking about learning, of course, right now. So, Phil, that's awesome. I love it. This is such a wonderful conversation here in this area. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about every child can learn, the state of education today, not only what's going on, but also solutions. And Phil has given us some great solutions today as well. And guys, I want you guys to get in touch with her. And also, too, Phil, if you don't mind, we'll let everybody, if you have a podcast, you guys got TV networks, television, Zooms, StreamYard, whatever, you need to contact Phil and ask her to be on your program, if you like, and if she approves, to be on your program to talk about this important area. This is more important than the military, in my opinion. In most cases, it's probably right up there with the military. But the point is, if you got to get our children educated properly, folks, for their future. If we don't educate our children properly, they won't be prepared for the future, folks. That's what it comes down to, as Phil teaches others all around the world. So we're so proud and excited for her being with us today. Wow. Hey, guys, this is Power Connections with my wonderful guest, Phyl Macomber. And we thank you so much for being with us today. Phil, I wanted to give you some time here. Got a little bit more time, but I wanted to give us some takeaways today. I want you to give us some action items and then your final thoughts.
So here is one takeaway to think about. and it's something that I practice myself.
Yes.
I don't think that we give kids enough time to think.
That's
They're
true.
always doing.
Yes.
Doing.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'd like to throw out something that I've learned a long time ago.
Yes.
Action drives out thought. Anytime you're acting, it
Right.
means you're not free thinking and being creative.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Right? And so I allow myself 50 minutes a day
Wow.
to just sit and think.
There you go.
I think about how I can solve problems. I
Yeah.
think about particular students I might support.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think about a topic for my podcast, Every Child Can Learn. I
Yeah.
think about, I think of lots of things.
Yeah.
Think of how I can be a better sister to my sister. I get, so it's thinking about anything. And if you don't
Right.
have 50 minutes in a row, which I often do not have, I might do 12 minutes here, 10
Right.
minutes here, but it
Right.
all adds up that I give
Yeah.
myself 50 minutes a
Right.
day. Do you know how much time that would add up in the year? And if we teach in the
Mm-hmm.
classroom
Mm-hmm.
or even at home,
Mm-hmm.
right? This
Mm-hmm.
is our thinking time. Say
Mm-hmm.
parents are planning a family reunion over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start talking about the different things we're bringing or what we're going
Mm-hmm.
to do or where it's going to be, I just want you to think about what you would like at a family reunion. And then in 10 minutes, we're going to talk about it at supper,
Oh, I
right?
love yes.
Like that's an easy thing to do. You also could do that in the classroom
Mm-hmm.
with the thinking time. Now, some teachers may be thinking,
Right.
oh, what about those students with like ADHD? They're not going to focus for that long. They're not going to do this. Well, you give them thinking prompts. You just don't do a basic black hole of thinking. They're children,
Right.
for goodness
Right.
sake,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Like you do guided thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you might say, in part one of our thinking time, we're going to think about this. And then we're
Mm.
going to share out. And it might be for 2 minutes or 3
Right.
minutes. And then
Right.
we add another piece. So action drives out thought, allow yourself thinking time. And I
Yeah.
think that another important thing is you have to know what you believe in order to best serve. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you are a teacher, if you're a cafeteria worker, if you are a special educator, if you are a parent, you have to identify what you believe in, because once you do and you're committed to it, you will get others to believe in it too. And I found that in my own journey, Kevin, is
Oh,
that if I
yeah.
wholeheartedly, all in, believe in something, others are going to believe in it too.
Absolutely. It literally comes out. I mean, it comes out in your personality and your deliveries and all that good stuff. You can tell. You can really tell the difference.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
it has to be common sense. I'm going to go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah, because in my opinion, it would relate to anybody, pretty much anybody on the planet, no matter what country you're in. It will
Right.
relate and resonate to that individual in this area. So it just makes sense. We're all connected, folks. We understand that we are all connected in certain ways, and we will relate to the right person, no matter what their language barriers are, languages or what their background is. We all can get related in the area of education today. That is so powerful. That is amazing. Phil, since we have a few more minutes here, I was going to ask you, do we have let's see, does the educational system keep our children in the school system long enough today, as far as hours? Is there enough time today in the school system? It's like they're always out of school. Every time I hear, what you out of school for? Kids walking around the city. What, you supposed to be in school, Is there enough time today in school to do some of the things you're talking about?
That is a really good question. And I'm really glad that you asked me that question, because I always say less is more. It's about quality, not quantity.
Gotcha.
Right? I train teachers, do a few things and do them well. and then add some more few things and do those well, right? In a buildable trajectory kind of
Right.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that we don't need to have a cookie cutter schedule in education, that every single day has to be 7.25 hours. And
Right.
it has to be for these particular weeks.
Right.
You know, like all you hear in education for at the time of this recording, our upcoming month of December, right? School schedules should be adjusted in December.
Right.
It should be shortened to then add giving back to community, to school programs, to all of that, being a
Right.
part of the school day,
Right.
right? Or having different types of hours. That's
Right.
for the homeschool families that I support. That's one thing they love about homeschooling is
Yeah.
that they teach their kids at their kids' prime time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they might explore the community and do real practical things, applying what they learned in math, and then they access something in the community.
Absolutely.
We don't need to have cookie cutter in one size fits all for a schedule. I think we could view it as putting together a jigsaw puzzle of how do the pieces really fit together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful, Phil. I love it. I hope, I trust that there's some Board of Education presidents listening right now and later on as well. You guys may need to tweak the way you're putting the information out there. I understand you gotta, have a structure, but you may want to reconsider some things, out there that Phil's talking about, guys. And you may have to pull her in for some consulting too as well, guys. Y'all need to contact Phil and have her consult you guys. So get your budget out for that as well. You can give her a call so she can talk to you guys a little bit about what direction you may need to go. That's powerful. Phil, also too, I want to ask you, what's one example of measurement? How do you measure success in this area?
I think you measure success in two ways. And then I'm going to tell you the way you don't measure it.
Okay.
How about we do that one first? You don't measure it in grades.
Oh.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
You could have a student who is doing really, really well.
Yeah.
I'm going to use an old school term now, on a report card, like when I was in school.
Same
right?
here.
But they're not socially appropriate in school.
Right.
They are extremely competitive. They cannot work on a team.
Right.
They only gravitate towards certain subjects, and they're disrespectful to their teacher.
Right.
Well, wow. That's okay. You got an A in science, but all those other areas, not so much, right?
That's right.
So how do we measure success? A little boy said to me, he was a fourth grader, came to me and he said, Miss Phil, what do you think the most important thing to learn in school is?
Wow.
And I looked at him, Kevin, and I said,
Yeah, great question. Great question.
You are really making me think about that, Jacob. And I said, I know exactly what it is. He said, you do already? And I said, I do. The most important thing you can learn in school is to be a good human.
Ah, yeah,
And
that's
he
good.
said, really? And I said, really? And to be a leader. Because Kevin, that is one of the tips that I would love as we're finishing up to say, that I don't think we spend enough time on building student leaders of all abilities.
That's true.
In the classrooms that I support, because people hire me and pay me for the way I look at things, right? And help guide them and clean up things, right? And so it is not uncommon in the classrooms that I support that children with special needs are leading classroom lessons and working on teams and have meaningful contributions. And our students that are gifted and talented above grade level are not sitting around being bored because they're waiting for the rest of the class to catch up. Because it's bookends, right?
Right,
So you
right.
have students that need more support and those students that need to be challenged, and they're all in that heterogeneous classroom. So
Right.
build student leaders, look at the kids' potential and their passion and tap into that. Because if you have kids that are doing something that they're good at and are passionate about, you don't have to convince them to be excited. You don't teach excitement. Excitement is the result of the magic of teaching,
Yeah, that's
right?
powerful. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I was just writing down. I want to give a shout out to all the homeschoolers on
Yeah.
the planet. Yeah, because the reason why they're homeschooling because of what you're saying, everything you're saying. The reason why they're doing it, they're not getting the results they need from the other systems, if you will. I'll say that. And then charter schools, Phil, too. I can take my hats off to charter schools. I understand why they're there now, and
Mhm.
also to private schools as well. We understand why you're there. So all those who've set up properly structured, organizations in that area, we salute you because you know how important education is. But there's a technique, and that's what Phil's been sharing with it. And you're not going to get that. I'm going to say mostly you're not going to get that in the public system. I'm going to just say that real quickly. And anybody want to call me on that, you can call me on that because I come out of public schools. But today it's just totally different. This is why we have charter, private, and the schools for homeschooling. That's why we have that because the job is not being done. And Phil has laid out some areas that we need to consider as parents and as educators all across the globe. Wow, that's incredible. Hey guys, this is Power Connections with Phyl Macomber. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know, she is an international educational specialist. She's also the recipient, ladies and gentlemen, of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Oh, wonderful. Author, bestseller, guys, every child can learn your roadmap to inclusion education, and then the recipient of I Am Woman of Inspiration. I'm sure you guys can hear that from her voice today. She inspired me today, guys. She's a woman of inspiration, difference maker award, and also the host of Every Child Can Learn podcast. Matter of fact, Phil, tell us about that podcast. How can folks learn more about that too, as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'm in season 4, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah,
And, Kevin, at first when my producer approached me about this, I was like, a podcast? I don't even listen to podcasts.
right.
That's not how I learn, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I love it. I absolutely feel
yeah,
like we're making a difference with
yes,
practical,
yes,
under 30-minute episodes
yeah.
on major issues and solutions in education. And wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so on. So wherever you listen to podcasts, look for Every Child Can Learn.
Oh, I love it. Hey guys, because this wonderful device here will allow you to listen to Phil on the network, guys. You could be working out, you could be, working and where you can do that. You could be just in relaxing and hear that information off your phone, off your laptop, off your desktop as well. That's powerful. Well, Phil, we're going to give you some final thoughts there, ma'am. Any final thoughts from your wonderful, wonderful self there today?
I think what I'd like to do is to tie back with how we started,
Yeah.
which is don't give up hope.
Don't do it,
As
guys.
long as you believe, anything is possible as long as you're willing to work for it, for the change. Change is possible. I know that I will draw my last breath on this earth, believing that I will continue to change education.
Yes, amen. I love it. And we thank you for it. We salute you for it. And we honor you in that area, Phil. Thank you so much. Because we need some people, we call these watchmen, watchwomen that watch over a certain area. And you're watching over education for us. So thank you so much for that. And guys, we got to be committed. And because the why is so important, guys. I think all of you understand that as we talk about education today, the why is so important. And we want to understand why we're not getting certain businesses, certain jobs, certain areas. This relates to education. As you know, right now, Phil, they're looking for people right now, but they can't find the candidates. And
Right.
part of it is because they don't have the education background. And most of it and learning skills. You got to be able to read, write, and be able to, how about this? Just be able to communicate with the individual, And like Phil talked about, we got to be able to be human, folks. We can't go in there and then start bashing the teacher and start bashing the boss or whatever and thinking you're going to take over in a few days. Doesn't work like that. So I think we're talking about attitude now. So we got to make sure that our children, our young people have be human and also respect the process, respect the individuals that are there as well. Wow. Phyl, this has been incredible. No doubt about it. This is one of the best interviews of this year, 2023. We can't wait to have you back in the future as well.
Thank
and
you.
please know you're always welcome to come back to give us some information and updates on what you're doing. If you got anything new coming out, any new events, we want to hear about it as well, so we can push it out to our network as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my sincere pleasure.
Yes, man. Yes, what a great time. So thank you so much for your time. And thank your awesome husband for allowing you to come on today as well. I love it. Hey guys, this has been Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan and my wonderful guest and new friend with her husband there, Phyl Macomber. We had the pleasure of meeting them in Atlanta, and I'm just so excited about that. We want to give a shout out to Dr. Janet Palmer as well, our good our mutual friend together as well. We can't wait to have Doc. She'll see this later on too, Phyl, and we're going to make sure we connect with her. Matter of fact, I got to schedule her soon as well. Yes, we love you so much, Doc. Yeah, lovely. I love it. Appreciate you so much for that. Hey, guys, I want you to share this out. Guys, Phyl is on Facebook. You can start there as well. You can go to Amazon and type in Phyl Macomber. There's a wonderful name right there, guys. You can type in Amazon right now and check out her book, Every Child Can Learn, Your Roadmap to Inclusion Education, guys, as well. You can learn more about her on the network. I want you guys to book her on you. If you guys have a podcast or need some guests to come on with some relevant topics, guys, you can invite Phyl to come on your show as well, guys. And we're just excited about you guys being with us. Hey, again, share this out on your network, guys. I want you guys to push this out. I would think we could reach 1,000 people on this one here, Phyl, because the education is kind of universal, isn't it? Pretty much the topic. Amen. All right. Hey, guys, we got to go. Have a great day. And I want to leave you with this, guys. Remember to always keep learning. Phyl talked about it, guys. Just keep it simple. Keep learning, and have hope. Guys, hope never fails, folks. But guess what? You got to believe in it, and you got to exercise it. But always out love, out serve, and out forgive each other. And remember, there's nothing you can't do with the power of education behind you. Amen. Phyl, have a great day. Happy holidays to you as well. Appreciate you.
You as well. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you guys so much for being with us today. And we'll talk to you.